Welcome. We've got our next installation in our Fundamentals of Health series. Our fundamentals, as we'll talk about in a minute, are sleep, move, eat, breathe, focus, and we're just going to be knocking them off this year, 1 month at a time, right through it. So here we are with move, and I'm starting with a story because a couple of years ago, this is actually 2017, so now we're talking 4 years ago, 3.5, 4 years ago. I met a woman named Jean. And when I first met Jean, she was in rough shape. She could barely walk into my office. We started consulting, and she said that she used to love to walk everywhere. She didn't like to get in her car. She used to, walk to the grocery store, walk downtown, go to all the shops. She loved living in a small town. She loved walking around. She loved being active. And for the previous couple of years, that ability had declined to the point where she couldn't really. She was walking with assistance, and I did meet her at an event, and she had to sit down every few minutes as she went along. And she said, I used to love to take my grandkids shopping, and I haven't been able to do that for the last year. Physical activity is something that's not just necessary for us to do, it's crucial for us as human beings. And she had lost her will to be in the world anymore. If she couldn't move anymore, she didn't want to do it. So we got to looking, we did our discovery process with her, as we always do. We talked through what she was going through. Then we talked through what her goals were. And then we did our examination where we looked at her posture pictures. We looked at her nervous system through the scanning technology that we do. We took the digital x-rays that we oftentimes do, and I did my chiropractic examination, looking at how her spine was moving, how it was positioned, and the tone and the feel of the tissue around it. And she was in rough shape. So we identified that she had subluxation, and as chiropractors, that's what we look for when the spine isn't moving right, when it's out of position, when we can identify that that's the area where the nervous system isn't allowed to freely communicate with the rest of the body. So the body's not communicating with the brain anymore. And we started a care plan. And it was so much fun to see what happened with Jean, because within a month she looked and moved like a different person. Within 2 months she was really starting to say, like, hey, this is really coming along. I thought that this was behind me. I didn't know that I could do these things again. And by the time we were at 4 months in, she was walking to our office from across town for her appointments. She was lively, she was smiling, her skin was back to healthful looking, she had a sparkle in her eye again. She had her life restored because she had her movement restored. And that's how crucial movement is. That's how crucial chiropractic can be, because with all this that had been going on, what do you think? Had she been to other doctors before me? Yeah, she had been to a lot of them. And what was she offered, do you think?
Medicine, painkillers, and maybe physical therapy.
Absolutely, you got it. Medicine, painkillers, physical therapy. And while I'm a fan of physical therapy, I think they do great work. I can be a fan of medications if they're used in the appropriate way. But in this case, it didn't restore health to her, and she kept going downhill. It wasn't until she got to the chiropractor that she could actually restore function to her body and get herself back to it. So those sorts of things are what we see when we can appropriately apply chiropractic, and it's pertinent to this discussion because it is absolutely vital for human beings to move. So let's talk about the Thrive formula here briefly. We've got three major areas of life: physical, chemical, and emotional. These are our three major lifestyle areas. And those things are what we get to make choices in and day out. And those things are sitting on the nervous system. The nervous system is the master controlling system of the body. It controls and regulates all of the functions and all of the systems in the body, so that when we're doing things in our lifestyle, if we're doing positive things and the nervous system is working well, then we have the opportunity for the best health. If the nervous system isn't working well and we're doing those positive things, then then we're not going to have as great a benefit from them. And unfortunately, the most common Western, American way to go about it is our nervous system isn't working well because we've never known we should take care of it. We don't even know how to take care of it, and we're not doing our lifestyle stuff appropriately, and that leads to chronic disease. And that, unfortunately, is what we're getting. It's the opposite of thriving. And so therefore, the Thrive formula starts with having a healthy, functioning nervous system. Then we have to do the lifestyle side of it. We have to give our body everything that it needs. This is where our fundamentals come in. Sleep, move, eat, breathe, focus. We have to give our body the appropriate things there. And we have to limit all the stuff that it doesn't need. Again, we have to think about sleep, move, eat, breathe, focus for the things that we don't need. So we apply the fundamentals of giving the body everything it needs, limiting or eliminating the things it doesn't. We do that over time, and that's what takes us to thriving. And it works every time. Every time it works. As we do something better with this, it moves us towards better health. If we do it all and we create a lifestyle where it's just simply how we live, then we get to live in that state of thriving. And that's really the goal. That's really where the rubber hits the road. So from there, there's our look at our fundamentals. I draw this out. I journal every morning, and I don't know, once a week or so, I will actually draw this out, and I'll make notes to myself on how I'm doing in these categories. How am I sleeping? How am I moving? How am I eating, breathing, focusing? I'll give myself a +1, or I'll give myself a needs work little hook, like, oh, we got to get back on track with that. And with that, we can really dial into a lifestyle that leads us to thriving. So, in the United States, what do you think? How are we doing? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
Thumbs down.
Yeah.
Big time, yeah.
I agree, I'd give a thumbs down. And most people would give a thumbs down. If we're aware at all of what's going on with health in the United States, we'd give that thumbs down. Health in the United States is declining. And it has been for a long, long time, really since the end of World War II. We had this bit of a boom, but all the conveniences that were formed out of industry then started leading us down a path that wasn't good. Each year we have rising rates of chronic disease, rising costs associated with our increasingly sick population. We have the most medical intervention of any industrialized nation, and we have the worst health of our citizens of any industrialized nation in the world. So why do I bring that up? Not just doom and gloom, but to bring awareness to the idea that, oh, the way that we've been going isn't working. The only option is to say, hey, we got to get off that road and take another one. So I've talked with lots of people about this. I've talked with public health directors. I've talked with politicians, and I've been like, hey, this is going on. I don't know why everybody hasn't had this siren going off, like, whoa, this is bad. But even the Surgeon General of the United States has been saying this for decades at this point. And here's what we get. What do you think? More drugs and surgery? Is that going to be a solution?
No.
No, I don't think so either. How about government programs? Can the government make programs that make people healthy?
I think the right ones could move it somewhat in the right direction.
I love that. So if we create programs appropriately, we could start to move the needle culturally, right? I agree with that. And here's where our politicians are currently. Number one plan is there's no plan at all. There is literally not a plan to improve people's health. We have 3 tiers of healthcare. The lowest level, or the kind of most often entry level, that's the treatment level. When people are already sick or already hurt, they have to intervene, at that level. The next level up is prevention. In this one, wow, we've heard a ton of this in the last, year or so. And that's all the stuff that we can do to not get sick, right? But keep in mind, not being sick is not the same thing as being healthy. And this is where it gets really fuzzy to people in decision-making plans, because we are under this impression that as long as we're not sick or not hurt, that we are healthy. And that's not true. It's absolutely not true. So they have no plan at all. And then there's the sounds good plan, and I don't want to call out Senator Grassley specifically, but he's the one that I've had the opportunity to ask questions for and have said, what is the plan in the United States government for helping people become healthier? This, I asked him 10 years ago.
Mhm.
And it was the sounds good plan. Well, we're going to do some things that are preventative medicine. We're going to do more preventative medicine. More screenings and more things like that. But if you're screening for health problems and you come up with those health problems, have you prevented the problem?
No.
No, the problem already exists, right? Now, it may be that you prevent it from being worse, but they already have the problem.
Yeah.
And screening doesn't ever indicate to a person how they can become healthier.
Mhm.
So preventative medicine, while I'm all about it, that's that second tier, it's not the third tier, which is making people healthier.
Mhm.
That measures if you're already sick. The answer is going to be an individual responsibility, where people choose to develop a wellness lifestyle. And that's what I talked about in those earlier slides, the Thrive formula with the 5 fundamentals of health. That's a wellness lifestyle. And that is the only solution that will work, and it's available now. There is no necessary major shift in things that have to happen for people to start accessing it. It's available now. There are chiropractors delivering this kind of care around the country. Not enough of us, unfortunately, because if everybody got this right now, there's no way we would have the capacity to deal with it. But for each individual, somebody watching online or somebody here at these talks, somebody in my office doing a consultation, we have the opportunity to do this now, and it is awesome, the results that we see when we do it. So that's why I do these workshops. I want people to get the idea of the fundamentals of health, and I want them to get the big picture of how health is actually created. So we can promote health on a day-to-day basis. We can wake up with a plan to live a healthy day, so that leads to a healthy week, a healthy month, quarter, year, lifetime. That's how we gotta do it. Because, of course, Albert said this a long time ago, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. We just can't. We can't keep doing the same things and hoping that we're going to get a different result from that. Our health is dive bombing in the United States. This is frankly why we've had such an issue with coronavirus, even compared to other countries in the world. Not because coronavirus was bad, because we were unhealthy. That's not good, right? So where are all the people saying, Americans, it's your responsibility to get healthy. That's how we're going to beat this thing. Nowhere. Nope. Crickets, right? None of that. Even though people like me who sit on boards of health have been pounding the table saying, we got to start telling people this. What's the deal? Why wait? Or a little more contemporarily, Bill Maher said, we won't stop being sick until we stop making ourselves sick. And that's exactly right. It's just such a simple statement. We won't stop being sick until we stop making ourselves sick. All right, so here's an exercise in focus, because it's been such a fascinating year for me to watch, both infuriating and fascinating at the same time. And I think it has been a massive exercise in focus. So here we go. Maybe you've seen this sort of thing. Play along.
The monkey business illusion. Count how many times the players wearing white passed the ball. The correct answer is 16 passes.
Did you get 16?
I counted 17.
Did you spot the gorilla?
17.
Yeah. I did
For
not
people who
spot
haven't
the
seen
gorilla.
or
Oh,
heard
I
about a video like
didn't
this
spot the
before,
gorilla.
about half
So.
missed the gorilla.
Huh. How about watching online? Did y'all see the gorilla?
If you knew about the gorilla, probably saw it. But did you notice the curtain changing color or the player on the black team leaving the game?
Did not notice that either. Yeah.
Let's rewind and watch it again.
Oh my goodness.
Here comes the gorilla, and there goes a player, and the curtain is changing from red to gold.
Oh, interesting, yeah.
When you're looking for a gorilla, you often miss other unexpected events.
Just gonna stop it right there. When you're looking for a gorilla, you often miss other unexpected events. I believe in the United States, we've been looking for a gorilla. We have been laser focused for the past year on this coronavirus thing, right? And I'm not saying coronavirus is something just to scoff at and we shouldn't pay attention at all to it, but we've been laser focused on it and we've missed so many gorillas. So many gorillas have just wandered in and out of our lives and we've just been not paying attention to that. And it's gonna have long-term problems in the United States. But what can we do about it? We can refocus, we can take a step back and be like, oh, right, yes, I need to keep my focus on what I need to keep my focus on, and I need to make sure that what I'm keeping my focus on is the appropriate thing. And that's where I think we lost. We fell out of the boat this past year. So there you go. It's a good one. You can use that with your students. First time I saw it, I didn't see the gorilla either. Like, how in the world does a gorilla walk across the stage and beat its chest and I don't see it? Like, I did not see it. I would have testified in court that I didn't see it. You know, no, there was absolutely no gorilla in that. Which, again, that's what we're seeing. All right, so 2020 was the missed opportunity. Death and severe disease with coronavirus, the vast majority of these cases, regardless of age, had pre-existing illness. So, moving forward, what's the best path to prevent premature death and severe disease? Here are your foils, A or B. A, vaccination, treatment, drugs, masks, hand washing, social distancing, or creating a population of healthy people.
Yeah, B's for sure the long-term tenable situation.
Exactly. B is the thing, right?
Yeah,
B is the thing. And that's the gorilla nobody has been talking about at all. It's just not even there. Hello, thanks so much for tuning into the workshop here. If you are inspired to do something about your health and you're curious to see if what we do at Bright Futures Chiropractic can help you, please take a moment to text the word health to 319-656-2888 and we will get back to you with a time to consult directly with me. 15-minute consultation, free, there's no charge for that. We will talk either in person, virtually, or on the phone. We'll see what's going on with your health and we'll see if it's a fit for what we do here at Bright Futures Chiropractic. So take this opportunity right now, do that, and then enjoy the rest of the workshop. Thanks. All right, so here we go. We get to do some movement today too, because I can't talk about movement for an hour and not have people move. There are 4 steps that I like people to address in spinal health and stability on a day-to-day basis. Active sitting, regular movement breaks. This is like the workforce, students, that sort of thing. Spinal stability exercises, and chiropractic care.
Okay.
So the first one is active sitting. I always feel bad when I have these workshops and I have people sitting at them. You know, it's like, this isn't exactly congruent, but here we go. So here's how we do active sitting. We get to the front of the seat, as you can see Miss Emily doing here. You get the feet flat, so no crossing legs, none of that stuff. The pelvis is rotated forward, so we can think about taking the tailbone back, pelvis forward, and that then is going to lead to, or you're going to want to make sure your sternum is raised, your chin is tucked at the same time, and then that's going to lead to that spine being nice in its appropriate curved posture with the hip, the shoulder, and the ear all in alignment. So that's active sitting. One of the main problems with sitting is that it compresses the spine when we allow ourselves to hunch with it. Active sitting actively decompresses the spine. It's an awesome thing. It can actually create decompression the whole day, but you have to have the muscles to do it. So if you start doing it, if you have your students and your kids start doing it, they won't be able to hold it forever because they're not conditioned to do it. But the more we work on it, the more it's just second nature and it's no big deal. So here's the difference. So we've got the appropriate alignment, as you can see with my diagram there, on the left with a nice appropriate curves in the spine versus the C curve that we have on the other. Not so good, and that's what we're looking for. All right, so the problem. Here's the problem. There's a mismatch between our modern diet and lifestyle and our Paleolithic genome that is leading to disease. That's from classic paleo lifestyle researchers, the one that the whole paleo lifestyle stuff came from, O'Keefe and Cordain. This is an MD, PhD duo. What that means is the way that we're living life now is not at all congruent with how our genome is expecting us to live life. More on that in a moment, but the simplicity of this idea is if we want this, which by the way, who here wants wellness?
Oh yeah.
Online? Yes. 100% of people I've ever asked this, of course, want to go to wellness. But where do most Americans end up?
Close to illness, probably.
Absolutely. And so we need to know that each of us is on that continuum somewhere. And it's the lifestyle choices that we make, physically, chemically, emotionally, how we sleep, move, eat, breathe, and focus, that lead us either away from better health or move us toward it. That's the simplicity of it. And I got, years ago now, 14 years ago, I was like, man, I wish there was just a real simple test we could give ourselves to make sure that we were doing things that are congruent with the results that we want. And then a question hit me and I said, well, that is a simple test. Let's call it the simple test. And it's this: whatever it is you're about to do, how you're going to sleep, how you're going to move, how you're going to eat or drink, what you're going to focus on, whether the situation, whatever situation you're in, how you're going to respond to that situation, whatever it is. You can take a moment before you actually make your action, your behavior, and you can ask, will this make me healthier? And everybody that I've ever surveyed about this says that over 90% of the time, you're gonna know the answer to that question. You will know the answer to, will this make me healthier? And then it's not the idea that you can't ever do anything that would move you this way, right? Like I'm all about every once in a while, I'll go down to the brewery, I'll have a pizza, I'll enjoy some time with friends and that sort of stuff. But I'll know that some of those biochemical things that I'm doing, they're moving me this way. So I encourage an 80-20 rule with that. And what I mean by that is, out of 10 decisions that you make in life, if 8 of them are moving you in that direction, then you don't have to worry that much about the 2 that don't. Trouble is, we flip that ratio, right? It's like 8 of the things are moving us that way, and then we pat ourselves on the back because we had a salad last month once.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I eat pretty healthy. It's like, all right, we got to get it in order. All right, more from the researchers. At present, human genes and human lives are incongruent, especially in affluent Western nations. When our current genome was originally selected, daily physical exertion was obligatory. I'll say that again. When our genome was selected, daily physical exertion was obligatory. We had to do it, or we didn't survive, right? Our biochemistry and physiology are designed to function optimally in such situations. However, today's mechanized, technologically oriented conditions allow and even promote an unprecedentedly sedentary lifestyle. Unprecedentedly, that word gets used a lot, but what that means from researchers is we've never seen that before. This hasn't been a thing before. An unprecedentedly sedentary lifestyle. Many important health problems are affected by this imbalance, including atherosclerosis, obesity, age-related fractures and diabetes, among others. Cardiovascular disease, obesity, diabetes. What are the 3 things where people have the most problem with coronavirus, to make it as contemporary as possible?
I believe those.
Cardiovascular disease, obesity, and diabetes. Absolutely. And this is from 2003.
Oh wow.
Okay, so this isn't a brand new thing by any means. right, so we gotta do better. All right, here's our second opportunity. So, second thing in our spinal health and stability is regular movement. So, if you're at work and you've got something to read, stand up and read that thing. If you've got the ability to have a standing workstation, by all means, lift that up. If you have a timer, whatever. Make sure that you're standing as much as possible. You can have a standing station. You can stand and move while you're on the phone. If at work you field phone calls, you can stand up and move. You can shift your weight. You can do squats. You know, you can lift the leg as you go side to side. Nobody's going to know on the other end unless you get winded, which that I suppose that's possible too. But do this as much as possible. You know, wherever in the day you've got an opportunity to move, an OTM we call them, opportunities to move, get up and do it, because our genome expects us to move all day long. That's the nutrient. Make sure it's at least every 10 minutes, getting up and doing something. Even if it's for 1 minute every 10 minutes, you're going to be way, way better off. All right, so let's get into it. Moving well for life. The benefits go way beyond what you see in the mirror. I will guarantee you that. Switch something up here on my screen. Here's more research. Women who briskly walk 1 hour per week were 50% less likely to develop heart disease. Which, by the way, what's the #1 killer of people in the United States?
I imagine heart disease.
It's heart disease, as a matter of fact. Another fact that we've completely forgotten about is that heart disease and cancer are far and away the greatest killers of Americans. Why we haven't shut down our entire economy to say, hey, we gotta do things differently so we no longer have heart disease and cancer, I'm not quite sure, but we have to keep our focus in the right place. Otherwise we're gonna, like gorillas are gonna walk into our life and we're not even gonna see that. 1 hour per week of brisk walking, that is less than 10 minutes a day. And it's a 50% less likely they are 50% less likely to develop heart disease. That's from the Journal of the American Medical Association. It's not like just some, first run researcher saying like, hey, I think this has happened. That's published in the Journal of the AMA. And like I said, heart disease is the #1 killer of US women. It's also the #1 killer of US men. Even without weight loss, by the way, increasing physical activity reduces cardiovascular disease risk by 20%. So, just move. That's just with moving. Then, here we go. What does moving well do? It increases our basal metabolic rate, which means how many calories we burn while we're at rest. Our bone density, our energy, our vitality, our mental performance. It improves immune system function, body composition, so our fat to muscle ratio, insulin sensitivity and blood sugar handling, so that's the diabetic issue. It improves our sleep and our cholesterol levels and our mood, more on that later, and it reduces stress and tension. That's just the benefits from moving. Like all of that is research proven stuff, which means that it decreases the risk of most chronic diseases. And 88% of Americans have a chronic disease as the cause of death on their death certificate. 88% of Americans die of chronic disease. 88% of Americans don't know that that's the fact. They think everybody dies of infectious disease, and that's not the case. 88% die of a chronic disease. Here are the risk factors for chronic disease. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, high insulin levels, increased body fat and waist to hip ratio, decreased muscle mass and strength, and increased stress and depression. Here are the benefits of exercise. It lowers blood pressure, it improves cholesterol, it improves insulin sensitivity, it improves body composition, increases strength and muscle mass, and relieves stress and improves mood. Now, that's nice to say, but again, I'd like to back things up with actual research. Another gorilla that I wish we would all point out more often. Depression and exercise. What am I talking about there? Well, check this out, because researchers looked at 156 patients over the age of 50 who suffered from a major depressive disorder. And they put them into one of 3 treatment groups. Exercise 3 times a week for a total of 45 minutes. 15 minutes, 3 times a week. Not much, like not a lot of exercise, right? Or medication, so depression medication, or both of those things, the medication and the exercise. After 4 months, all patients had experienced a significant drop in symptoms of depression. And there was very little difference in the therapeutic effect between the 3 groups. Very little. Like the researchers looked at it and they said, okay, it looks like it all worked. Well, fantastic. But we go farther. Over 60% of patients in all groups no longer met the criteria for major depressive disorder at the study's conclusion. That's pretty good at 4 months. There's definitely more though. Patients in the exercise group were more likely to continue to be partially or fully recovered than those in the medication group. Very important. Exercise, the results of the intervention lasted longer. At 6 months, relapse, the medication group was 40%. The medication and exercise group was over 30%, and the exercise-only group was less than 10%. Remember, that group did the same exercise, but they also had the medication. The exercise alone worked better than the combination therapy. So the researchers concluded, this one always tickles my funny bone a little bit, that exercise is a viable and at least equally effective alternative to traditional medical treatment involving drugs. It's always amazing to me that they resist saying exercise is better than drugs, even though very clearly it certainly looks like it is. All right, and again, I'm not completely anti-medication. I don't want to come across as this, but I feel like all we've been focused on is what can I take to get rid of my symptoms, and that's oftentimes we go to healthcare professionals, and that's the only thing we get offered. And so we hold up the medication thing as like step 1 of what we need to do, when in reality that's not even part of the code, so to speak. The code is actually for doctors, if lifestyle intervention will work and has been shown to be more effective, you must do that first. That gorilla gets ignored most of the time. All right. Oh yeah, that was a 2000 article. That's 21 years ago. In October, it'll be 21 years ago that data came out. We've known this for a while. Okay, movement, flat out, is a required nutrient. It's an essential element. Exercise is a supplement. Now, I put out a Instagram post and some Facebook things and some emails leading up to this that said exercise is not natural. And I got a lot of people to open that email, which was great because it isn't. It is an unnatural thing to do. And what I mean by that is if you think back to human beings living before the Industrial Revolution, we didn't have the luxury of exercise, right? Either we were moving or we were sick or ill. We didn't have the in-between where we were just like, we were living a fine life and, oh, maybe I should exercise so I can be healthy. No. We moved from the moment we got up to the moment we went to bed with some areas of low intensity movement or sitting on the ground, but we moved the entire day. Now we do the exact opposite of that. We sit the entire day and we get up and we go, from place to place a little bit. So we have to think about movement is the nutrient, right? We have to get as much movement in as possible into our day. And exercise, like setting aside time to go to a gym or do a workout at home or whatever, that's a supplement. And the life that we live right now requires supplementation, right? Most of us don't have that lifestyle anymore. Just in a side story, I watched a documentary. My son and I are big fly fishermen. We love to fly fish. And there was a documentary on the bamboo that comes from China that makes these high-end fly rods for the Western world. right? And most people don't buy bamboo anymore because it's wicked expensive. And I thought this could be interesting, and let's look at this. Anyway, the whole reason I even bring it up is because they went to China to show the people growing and harvesting the bamboo. And I was like, look at that. Those are human beings that are still living like human beings used to live. They were chopping down the bamboo, and these were the women the harvesting and the taking it down to town, and then the men lug it around down on the docks and into the different warehouses and stuff like that. But the women, like their day of work is chopping down 5 enormous bundles of 20-foot long bamboo poles, hacking all of the leaves off of them, putting them into bundles, and then loading them up onto carts that have no brakes and taking them down the mountain 5 times. that's their day. That's what I'm talking about, that's what people used to do just to survive. And some people still do. All right, let's get into some of those spinal exercises. Remember, I've got the 4 things, and here's the spinal exercises. So I love this set of things. These are things that people can do at work, at home, in the classroom, wherever they are, if you're finding yourself to be a person who sits more than you ought to. So here we go. We've got the founder. Now you might be familiar with the founder, so feel free to stand up and join in.
Right.
The founder looks like this. Actually, we're going to do the seated one first. I forgot. I'm doing the seated founder first. So again, Emily is our model here. Thank you, Emily. And she is sitting on the edge of that chair, lean forward. First off, sternum up, chin tucked, then lean forward from the hip with a flat back, and your arms are back and open. Extend the arms. Then, second position is you extend the arms up, thumbs start up, and then after a few seconds, you can take them down, or you can just leave them up, that's fine, and hold each of those positions for 10 to 30 seconds. Then you can, from there, you can get into that seated position, into that seated founder position, and then you stand up. So you go from the seated position, and then you stand up, and then back down into that seated position, touch your rear end to the chair, and then stand back up. Just a nice flow with that. You can even hold it for 10 seconds or 5 seconds down there, and then stand up. And again, keep that whole back, the posterior chain engaged as you do it. So I love that approach to things, and I encourage people to do it 5 on the 15s. What do I mean by that? Do 5 of those squats every 15 minutes. You can get an old school watch, set it, if you've got something on your computer that you can set for a timer, or your phone can always do a timer. Just have that thing give you a little ding, and then you do the position seated, and then you come up to standing, and then get back into that seat, and then come on back up. 5 of those every 15 minutes is going to tremendously help. And again, that founder position is all about decompressing the spine, and the problem with sitting is compression of the spine. So that's the seated founder. Let's go into the standing founder, where it's the same torso action, but you're going to be standing. So what you want to do is keep your weight on your heels, your knees are slightly bent, you keep a flat back, and then the arms go back. So you're going to feel those shoulder blades coming close together. Then you're going to hold that for 10 seconds, and then you're going to move those arms up into the second position as you extend. Notice how Emily has a nice flat back there that whole time, and then the knees are slightly bent. You'll feel the weight of your body being held up by your hamstrings and by your glutes. That's the idea. And you're going to hold that each spot for 10 to 30 seconds. That's the founder. And if everybody did this on a daily basis regularly, at work, teach your coworkers, teach your school children, whatever it is, it'd be tremendously beneficial. And from that last position then, we're going to go into what's called good mornings. So you're here, You're gonna bring the shoulder blades together as the elbows go back, and then you're gonna rotate at the hips. Keep that back flat, hinge at the hips, where your torso is gonna go down. Again, keep the back flat though. That sternum stays high the whole time, and you will really feel this in the hamstrings. 10 to 15 repetitions, and that'll be it. Hello, thanks so much for tuning into the workshop here. If you are inspired to do something about your health and you're curious to see if what we do at Bright Futures Chiropractic can help you, please take a moment to text the word health to 319-656-2888, and we will get back to you with a time to consult directly with me. 15-minute consultation, free, there's no charge for that. We will talk either in person, virtually, or on the phone. We'll see what's going on with your health, and we'll see if it's a fit for what we do here at Bright Futures Chiropractic. So take this opportunity right now, do that, and then enjoy the rest of the workshop. Thanks. So, I love that series of spinal exercises. Again, I imagine a workforce where that's just a normal part of the day. You know, you're doing your thing and you get a phone call, so you stand up. It's just the habit that you're into. And every 15 minutes something dings and you do 5 of those seated to standing squats, 10 seconds here, 10 seconds here, and then 10 good mornings. And then either you go back to your standing station or you sit back down and you keep working with that active sitting. That's the idea. So I get a lot of questions about like, well, what kind of fitness should I do then? Like, is cardio the thing to do? Is weightlifting the thing to do? You know, what is there? And I like to bring it back and say, hey, what we need to do is think about how human beings were designed to function. That's functional fitness. So anything that is a natural movement that involves multiple joints. I like to call it moving like a human. Humans are supposed to move in all sorts of great ways. We need to move like them. And we need to get it to a level of intensity where we're moving, we're sweating, we're panting. We got to get that intensity level up. Because again, that's what we're designed to do, right? We are designed to intensely move. Again, our ancestors before the Industrial Revolution, they think about those ladies bringing the bamboo down the hill, right? That's intense. They're sweating, they're moving, they're breathing hard when they get there, and then they got to go back up the mountain with their cart, right? That's the easy part. But we need to approximate that then, supplement with exercise that gets the same thing. We need to sweat. That's a huge detoxifier for us. And we need to pant. The lungs are actually our largest detoxification mechanism. We got to detox out of the lungs, and we got to get that oxygen in. We got to get the carbon dioxide and all the other toxins out. That is functional fitness. We need to have elements of it also. We need it to be good for endurance, for stamina, for strength, for flexibility, for power, speed, coordination, agility, balance, and accuracy. Now, this comes from a company that I absolutely love. They're called MovNat, M-O-V-N-A-T. The founder of it is a man from France. I believe he lives in the United States now, but MovNat is awesome. And they give away a lot of stuff. You can also get certified in their movement techniques and things like that. But their idea, they've like cataloged how human beings are supposed to move, and then they've created structure around how to do that throughout your day-to-day life and in your exercise stuff. So thinking about moving functionally like a human, we got to do that. Then we got to be able to stick with it. And for that, I bring up some sources of influence, because I also sent out another email and Facebook and Instagram post that said your desire to sit is normal. Normal in all caps. Most of the time people feel bad, like, oh gee, I'm off my exercise routine again. You know, we have a lot of like, we know we need to move a lot more than we do. And so there's a lot of like guilt and shame about us not doing it. And I want people to know that psychologically, it's the absolutely appropriate thing to do based on our genome. And that's because we're biological economists. What that means is our genome, again, was selected at a time where you had to move a ton, but if you didn't have to move, you shouldn't, right? Don't. It was the idea of you need to relax, you need to sit. This is your opportunity to rest and recover. You need to do that. So it's hardwired into us that when we recognize an opportunity to not move, that we don't. Now we have our world, right? Where our necessity to move has been eliminated from us. It's been technologically eliminated, right? We no longer have to walk to the grocery store. We don't even have to walk, you know, in the store to get our groceries anymore. They will bring it out to you, right? We don't have to do any of that anymore. And so it's hardwired into us to go like, yeah, that's what I need to do. I need to not move, you know? So we need to recognize that that is our nature. Our nature is to not move if you don't have to move. And we also have to recognize that human movement is a nutrient. We have to move if we want to be healthy. So those two things hit this really weird place in Western culture. So knowing that we have to move and knowing that we're hardwired to not if we don't need to, that gives us the opportunity to go like, oh, that's why it's so hard for me to get out of bed in the morning so that I can go exercise before I go to work. Nothing in my genome wants me to do that, right? Nothing in my genome wants me to do that. But cognitively, I have to override that because I know that's the only time I'm going to get my exercise supplement in my day. So we have to add to that. How do we do that? How can we be influenced? And that's the intrinsic one that I talked about. Intrinsically knowing it and having this sense of responsibility for our own health that says, hey, health is my responsibility, and because I know human beings need to move, and because I know in our modern culture, I need to get that as a supplement, exercise is something I need to do. I think it's important to me because I want to fill in the blank. That's the intrinsic side of it. I need to exercise because I want to keep golfing, because I want to be running when I'm 80 years old, because I want to play with my grandkids and be able to get on the floor and off the floor again with them. And I want to do that for years and years to come. Whatever the source of, that's why I need to be fit and healthy, that's your intrinsic motivation. Then there are some other things, extrinsic things. So set a goal date. Say, by this time, I want to have my routine down to this. Or I want to have exercised 3 days a week for 15 minutes or 5 minutes or 3 minutes, whatever you need to start with. And by June 1st, I'm going to make sure that I've done that every time. Set that goal date, then make it public. It's really interesting that some people respond really, really well to rewards and penalties. So my mentor, as a matter of fact, he was doing an effort where he and a buddy got together, and they're both big surfers. And they bought a surfboard together. They bought a surfboard, they left it in its wrapping, and they stuck it on the wall. And the person who reached the goal first got the surfboard. That's a reward and penalty thing, because whoever got it gets the reward. The penalty is, oh, my friend beat me to the goal. Dang it. That can be really important. And then the idea of the friend, the buddy system, is a solidly research supported way. You add a buddy, add a friend to do it with, and we are social beings, right? Another gorilla. We are social beings. We're supposed to be around other human beings. We need that support. That's a really great way to do it. You can make a wager. You know, that's kind of like the surfboard thing I talked about, but it doesn't necessarily need to involve a buddy. You can just make a wager with somebody else and see if you hold to it. And then a checklist. Some people do really great with functioning off of checklists, where at the beginning of the day, maybe it's like, I need to do the foundation training thing 5 times today. I'm going to do it 5 times, the 10 seconds here, 10 seconds here, 10 10 good mornings, and check that off the list. I'm going to stand for 3 of my phone calls today. Check that off the list. You know, whatever it is, make yourself that list. And then make it easy to do. And that's one of the most fun words that I like, propinquity. Propinquity means to have your environment set up in a way that it's easy. For me, I work out at 5:15 in the morning, so I have to get up at 10 to 5 in the morning. That's earlier than I'm an early bird to begin with, but that's earlier than I would choose to wake up if I didn't have to. The way that I make it easy for myself, though, is that I've got people to show up for. I've got a group of people that I work out with at Bonfire Fitness here in Kalona, and I set out my workout gear the night before. It's all set up. I can roll my groggy self out of bed. I get into the bathroom. I put in my contacts, brush my teeth, put on my clothes, head out the door. If I had to do that extra step of having to get my clothes out and figure out what I was wearing, it would decrease the chances that I was going to actually do the thing. So propinquity is setting it up, right? Some people go so far as to say, hey, I'm going to have a treadmill at work. You know, like I'm going to walk on a treadmill. That's really propinquity because you're giving yourself every opportunity to move, right? But it doesn't have to go that far. Maybe it's that you get a stand-up desk, a flexible desk. That's propinquity because then you've built in the opportunity to stand. Whatever it is that you can change your environment so that it's easier to do the things you know you need to do, perfect. Then you got to make it, you can make it bigger than yourself. This is why it's so, I mean, people all over the country, all over the world will run for a cause, whether it's juvenile diabetes, which I highly recommend that one. That's a fantastic group. Or, you know, Race for the Cure, you know, there's all sorts of things out there where people make it bigger for themselves. I am going to do this for this person in my life who I know has dealt with this so we can raise money to research, whatever it is. Make it bigger than yourself. And we've got one more spinal stability exercise. It's the lunge stretch, or what I call the sit buster, because it is the antidote to modern sitting. So here's what we're going to do. You're going to put one foot in front of the other. You're going to step way back. You're going to lift those arms just like Emily has there. You can have the arms straight above the head. You can interlock the fingers however it works best for you. And then you're going to extend that spine backwards and then lean over that front leg while you keep that extension. And when you do that, you ought to feel a real nice stretch, in the front of the leg that's in the back. Those are your hip flexors. Those get so tight with all of the sitting and all of the stooping that we do if we have workstations that we work at. And do that for 10 or 15 seconds on each leg. And I tell you, you feel like a new person when you do that. It's good stuff. Then you can move from that position into the next, which is the woodpecker. So you're going to come from that lunge stretch. You've done it on both sides. You're going to bring the arms in just like you did for good mornings, and then you're going to lean at the hip, keeping that chest high, and that's going to be the woodpecker. So one foot in front of the other, that's the lunge. Keep that flat back, you chest forward, sternum up. Keep that sternum up, and then you feel the tension and the stretch in that front leg. And then you'll hold that for 10 or 15 seconds. And then you can switch the sides there again. And you can do it right after you've done the lunge stretch. You can do, as an advanced version, is then you can do 5 or 10 nice and slow good mornings from there. Again, keep that chest up, torso moves as one unit. So there we've covered what we're going to do for the spinal health and stability. Active sitting, regular movement breaks, spinal stability exercises, and chiropractic care. I didn't cover the chiropractic care yet, even though I talked about Jean's story, which, by the way, when Jean originally came into me, she was 54 years old. And she was pretty much calling her quits because she couldn't move anymore. You know, a person at 54 ought to have 20, 30, 40 years of life yet left. And unfortunately, the way that we're living life is incongruent with how we're designed, and we're ending up with people with really poor health by the time they're 54. So that's my crux. That's why I do this, is that she didn't develop poor health at 54. She developed it throughout her life to the point where at 54, she was in a really bad spot. We also see this with people on the other end of the age spectrum. I love to work with athletes. I work with high school athletes. And currently one of the better athletes in the Mid-Prairie system, I'm working with him and it's been awesome. He had issues with his arm last year while he was throwing. He's a baseball player. And he was having numbness and pain when he would throw. And that's a bad deal for a kid who wants to be a pitcher, right? And you know, the kind of the team and everything was like, oh, you got to go up to sports medicine at the university, you got to get this looked at, you got to get imaging, all of this stuff. And fortunately, his parents came to me and they said, well, what do you think about this? And I said, well, I'd love to check him out. I don't know without checking him out. Well, we did our whole thing. We did our posture pictures, we did our scans, we did our spinal exam. I did specific things to see what might be going on with that arm. We did digital x-rays, all of which showed that it was pointing toward a specific issue coming from the spine and some postural restructuring that needed to happen that could be causing this. His body wasn't moving freely, and it needs to move freely for the nervous system to be happy. Well, fortunately, we started getting him adjusted, and within a couple of weeks, he was back to full function. So no need for advanced imaging, no need for, certainly no need for surgery, that sort of thing, back to full function. That was 8 months ago or so. Yep, 8 months ago, and he's still been doing great at this point. The body needs to move. The spine needs to move. If people are watching this and they're going like, gosh, that sounds interesting. What do I do about that? Well, keep in mind that your health is a reflection of your choices, and I really do appreciate people for participating today. And I know that the one thing that usually keeps people from taking the next step is procrastination. It's like, wow, this has been really good. This is interesting. Maybe this could help me. And then they're like, the video's going to end. And they're just going to go about life again instead of actually doing something about it. So if you're watching this online, please, at the bottom of the screen here, it says text the word health to our phone number, 319-656-2888. Please do that. And I'm always up for a free consultation. I'll sit down with you virtually, on the phone, in person, whatever it takes. 15 minutes, we'll talk about what's going on with you, and then we'll have the opportunity to know if the sort of things that we do at Bright Futures Chiropractic can help, and if not, we'll help you find somebody that does. And if you're watching this and you're not near Kalona, Iowa anywhere, if you're not in the greater Iowa City area, please let me know, because I will find you people wherever you are that will help. Because it's such an important thing for human health. We have to get this message out there so that we stop not seeing. It's not even that we're ignoring gorillas, it's that we don't see them. And the health crisis that we're in the United States right now is literally the gorilla that's in the room, and there's a solution for it. So I appreciate you for watching. I appreciate you for being here live, and I look forward to a healthier future for everybody. Take care, everybody, and enjoy the day.